Hey, it's Heidi from A Lively Hope, and today I'm going to show you how to finish some felt heart ornaments. You can find this pattern in my shop. I will link it below. I've been a little bit obsessed with these lately, so here's a few of the ones I have finished. I've done some beadwork as well as the embroidery. And so in this video I will show you how to do the blanket stitch edges as well as how I finish the ornaments. So I generally have my stitched front and a plain back. I cut out the back to match the front, and then I use organic cotton backing or batting to make it a little bit more puffy. You could also fill it with like the polyester fill to make it super poofy, but I like just not as poofy. And you will cut this smaller than the size of the outside hearts. So you're just going to make a sandwich. I don't pin it, I just hold it in place. You absolutely could pin it if you are more careful and patient than I am. So I'm going to finish this with white thread, which I don't have enough of on there, but I definitely have enough of here. So my goal is always to finish around the entire heart or whatever I'm making without needing to tie off and add more thread. Of course, it's totally doable, and there are some tricks which I will show you later to make that pretty much invisible, but I would rather not have to worry about it. So I'm separating this thread. I've got 3 strands, and that's what I'll be using. Okay, so I've threaded my needle. I'm going to use the trick my grandma taught me to tie a knot in the end. So I'm going to wrap it around my finger like this, and then rub my fingers together. Oh, okay, to form a knot. Sorry, I got a little frazzled there. Try it again. And then just push that down. So I generally pick a side rather than starting right at the top or right at the bottom. I'll start on the side as a way to make the beginning a little less noticeable. So you're going to start in the middle of your sandwich, coming from the inside to the outside so that your knot will be on the inside. And then we have kind of a setup stitch. I'm going to make that a little bit longer and tuck it down in a little bit better. I don't want the knot right there at the edge. So you're going to come through right at the same place where your first stitch came through, but this time you're going around all the layers of your sandwich. You pull that until you have just a little loop left, and then you're going to go through the loop with your needle and pull it tight. So this one, and of course not too tight. This is our setup, and now we're going to do the same thing. I like to, so I'm going about this far away for my next stitch. And again, pulling until you have just a little loop. and then you go through the loop. So this is blanket stitch. It's a little tricky on this one. I should have thought about that with these other stitches that I have to see what's happening here. But you have kind of a vertical stitch and then one that goes around the outside. I'll show you here. So we're creating, this is when we go around, and then when you go through and pull it taut, this nice finished edge is what you're creating. So I'll do a few more. From the back to the front, pull it through till you have just a loop. Pull it again. Same thing, back through all the layers to the front, and then back through your loop. So here I'm going to show you, I obviously don't have enough thread to finish this last section, so I will show you how I tie that off and add more thread while keeping that pattern going. So there are lots of ways to do this. Here's what I found I like best. I'm going to tie a knot as close as I can to the last stitch I completed. You can see that tiny knot right there. And then I'm going to go inside and just pull. I want the knot to go in between my felt sandwich there, and then I poke the thread out farther away and cut that off. So that looks like a completed stitch there, and then you cut it off close to the felt so you can't see anymore. And I'll thread this needle again with 3 strands. So I've threaded my needle again, tied a knot the same way, and I'm going to come in just like I did before, about 1 stitch away. I'm going to do this stitch just like normal. So I get to where I have the little loop. I'm going to go through, and then to join this, to see if we just continued, we would have this one little section that doesn't have the stitch on the top. So I go through, I go back, go under that stitch where we tied off the remaining thread before, and then back again under the first one that we just added. So that completes that pattern, and then we just keep going. As I go, I like to make sure that the thread is staying straight along kind of this seam. Keep catching the edge there. So with each stitch or two, I will kind of straighten and hold it in place while I do the next stitch. And then that gives it a really nice, crisp, finished look when you're done. So we're coming up here on the edge, or on the end. We've gone all the way around. And we'll do something similar to when we joined more thread. So we've spaced it. So here is our final stitch. Here's our first stitch. And then again, we just want to make sure that this matches the rest. So I just join up the final stitch. And then go back in. Actually, I'm going to wrap around once to secure it. So I go around that first stitch that we did. We're meeting back up with that. I tied a knot around it, and now I'm going to go in between with my needle, in between the layers of the sandwich, and do the same thing where we finished the thread off before. Just cut that off. And now that's finished. You could have this be your completed project, or if you wanted, you could put some yarn through and make it an ornament to hang. And again, I have the pattern with all these and more designs that you can make with felt and beads and embroidery linked below.